We continue with the inspirational sounds of the Christ Universal Temple Ensemble, and they will be singing at POT.
Good morning, Christ Universal Temple. Good morning. How are you? Are you all right with an encore? Can we just have some more of that? Can we have some more of that? Oh, and now if the ushers would just take your place, we take the offering and we can all start our Sunday morning a little bit earlier, because that's church right there. That's ministry in the nutshell. That's it. Good Lord. Christ Universal Temple Ensemble. It's been a little while since they blessed us with an anthem. Powerful, powerful anthem. Let's give it up to them. Ooh. Temple musicians. Mr. Martin Woods conducting. Amen, 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 amen. It's just off the charts crazy. I love it. And Mr. Monte Filon, musical director. Yes, Lord. So what's going on, Christ Universal Temple? How you all doing? This is how you all do it up in here? That's how you all do it. That's how you all get down up in here. I like it. I like it. I like it. I missed you. I'm glad to be back. Good to see you. Good to be with you. You know, folks, church folk talk. Church folk talk. Not only do they talk, now they talk in text. I was in class probably around. Text might have come to me around 11:42 weeks. One text came around 11:40, the other came around 11:42. They say, your people are here tearing the roof off the place. Reverend Boyd is doing her thing. The following week they said Reverend McDowell was doing his thing. Let's give it up for our in-house powerhouses. I can hear Reverend Coleman saying everything you need is right within these seats. To each and every one who volunteers in any capacity in this church, let me stand up, let us love you. If you volunteer in any capacity in this church, any capacity, each and every volunteer, stand up, let us love you. Thank you. God bless you for everything that you do. God bless you. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for everything that you do. And so what else is going on? So I missed you too. I missed you too. The residency went well. Actually, it was better this year than last. I believe in part because of two things in particular. The first was that it was my second time around, and so I was just a little more familiar with the process. But more importantly, and this is just my sense, more importantly, I ask you to pray with me And I think you did. And in doing that, the week was smooth, right? No problems. I didn't have any fights with anybody. It was a really, really good week. Long days, long nights, but well worth it. Just to give you an update on where I am officially at this point halfway through the program. Thank you. My chapter 1 of my dissertation was accepted, so I've got chapter 1 down. I have to have a first draft of chapter 2 due by September 1. So don't stop praying. Keep praying. We got a lot of work to do right there. We got a lot of work to do right there. So the prayers of the righteous availeth much. Keep praying. When people who do skydiving, they say when they get below a certain altitude, it seems like the ground begins to rush up toward them. And that's sort of what I feel like right now. I'm feeling the ground rush of the program as it really sort of reaches its culmination. So a lot to do, but we're getting it done. And I just love you. I thank you. I thank you for your support. I thank you for your prayers. I thank you for your words of encouragement. It really does mean a lot to me. So thank you. And so on to today's lesson. Our topic for today is what? All right. All right. Yeah, I mean, it's only been a few days, right? Let me see your hand if you have a bulletin. Let me see your hand if you have your bulletin open. Right? Some questions are not that difficult, right? So let's just go together, family. You have to love. I love to have an opportunity to talk with the saints. So you see where it says powerful. you see where it says powerful living, 12 power series. That's not the part we're talking about. Now we're talking about the part just beneath that. You see that part beneath that? What does that say? Yes, and that is our topic for today. Imagination, projecting your potential. We've been talking about the 12 powers, and we've been talking about the powers as a system or resource by which we can create and enhance and change our lives. But we've also said and understand that in order for each of us to benefit from the powers that are within us, we have to tap into them. We have to call them forth. It's noteworthy that Jesus did not just assume that his disciples would know what he needed from them. I think it's noteworthy that he called each of them by name for the particular purpose of helping him execute the mission and the purpose that God gave him. Now, we understand that if we see it in the archetype Jesus, that it is also present within each and every one of us. So each and every one of us has 12 powers that we can, should, and if we're wise, must tap into in order to live life to its fullest. Does that make sense? So today we're talking about imagination. And imagination is the ability to visualize, to conceive, to conceptualize, and to vision. Imagination is not foreign to any of us. Each of us uses our imagination in ways that we see fit, whether we recognize that we're using it positively or negatively. Imagination is the kind of gift that can be used positively or negatively. You can use your imagination to picture yourself, to image yourself, to see and conceive yourself as accomplishing those things that you feel the deep urge in your soul to accomplish, or you can use your imagination to think ill of yourself. You can use your imagination constructively, you can use your imagination destructively. You can use your imagination to build yourself up, you can use your imagination to tear yourself down. You can use your imagination in ways that allow it to connect with faith. You can use your imagination to worry about stuff that's never going to come to pass. Imagination is a subtle, say subtle. Imagination is a subtle gift. Imagination is a subtle gift. And if we are not mindful, if we're not intentional, if we're not conscious, we can direct our imagination out and send it to accomplish things that we just don't really want in our lives. Imagination is powerful. Imagination is the power by which we form and shape thoughts into mental images. Imagination is what powers, as I said a moment ago, worry. In order to change the conditions of our life, world, and affairs, we must transform, say transform, the pictures we are seeing in our minds, and we must use our imaginations to not only view our world, to remember our past, and to project our future, but to do it in a way that allows us to live into, say live into, God's will for us. Imagination is powerful. Imagination is powerful. Stevie Coven said, when we should live out of our imagination and not out of our history. Walt Disney said in speaking about imagination that he would recommend that we all remember that it started with a mouse. Anybody remember a pet rock? Anybody remember the Chia Pet? I'm mentioning these things because someone has become rich off of being able to imagine a piece of clay with shrubbery coming out of it. Someone has become well endowed because they imagined that you could give a rock a name, and when you give a rock a name, it then has meaning. Do you know how many free rocks you can pick up right now? And folk will pay for your imagination. You don't have to beg nobody for their money. Just come up with a good idea that they'll sow into. You with me? But imagination is, again, our ability to visualize, our ability to conceive, our ability to conceptualize, our ability to envision. Imagination is subtle, but it's powerful. When imagination is underdeveloped, it becomes difficult for us to conceptualize the ideas that God gives us. When our imagination is underdeveloped, it becomes difficult to make sense of the ideas that God gives you. See, God only does to you what God does through you. And if you can't see it, you cannot have it. So in order to be able to walk in what is yours by divine right of creation, not necessarily by divine right of consciousness, you have to be able to see what may not yet be showing up. Now, sometimes we call that faith, but faith is related to imagination. And if you don't see it in your mind's eye, if you can't see it in your mind's eye, you cannot have it, you cannot get it, you cannot touch it. If we don't see, if we can't see, can I just talk to you real for a minute? If we can't see our communities and our streets clean, then there's no way for the people who are wreaking havoc on them to understand that there is a greater reality. If we can't in our imagination, see, you don't have to like the young man with his pants around his fanny in order to help him. All you have to do is be able to see him in his greater capacity. You don't have to know him. You don't even have to be courageous enough to correct him. All you have to do is be able to see him in ways that he can't even see himself. See, when the young lady shows up and everything that she has is being revealed to the world, you don't have to, now you can, but you don't have to just walk up to her and tell her to put something on that'll make herself decent. Why don't you just see her covered in white raiment like the Mother Mary? When we begin to see, when we begin to use our power of imagination to see things as we would like for them to be, stuff will begin to change. But if I am content to use my imagination on stuff that does not matter, then stuff that does not matter will continue to become matter and manifestation in my situation. Underdeveloped faith does stuff like this. Underdeveloped faith has arguments with people that are already over. Underdeveloped imagination has arguments with folk that's already over. Anybody ever argued with somebody and the argument was over, but in your mind you were still imaging that argument? I knew I had the right crowd. In your imagination, in your creative facility, you are bringing back arguments that you should have said that you didn't say when you were arguing with somebody you shouldn't have been arguing with to begin with. Listen, there's something slightly off about arguing with a fool. Choir, now they have to determine which is which. Because if I allow myself through my imagination to rehearse an experience that has already given me the lesser of it, and then I rehearse and repeat and remind myself of something that I already don't feel good about, who is really don't answer. But underdeveloped faith, see, when our imagination is consumed with nonsense, then the inspiration of God has more difficulty making way in our consciousness. This is why you don't have any time to waste on anything that is a waste of time. Because God is trying to get the plan to you. And it's coming through your ideas. And if your mind is confused about stuff that does not matter, then the idea that can bless you and bring you out of that situation, that condition, that circumstance, the idea that can help you know how to move out of a relationship that does not work, the idea that can help you maneuver out of a bad business experience and into the right business experience cannot settle in your soul if your soul is not open. And it comes to your imagination. As the Temptations would say. I love how you all party. Listen, I know God put me in the right church. Because we get it. Right? But it's just my imagination. And what's it doing? See? Just my imagination running away from me. When our imagination is underdeveloped, we find ourselves unable to conceive, receive, and conceptualize the ideas that God gives us. Now watch this. Your imagination is intended to help you become comfortable with God's plan for you before it's time for you to walk in that. Saints, they missed that whole thing. Let me come over and talk to the saints. The saints don't miss it. They missed that whole thing. I'm going back. Hold on. I love y'all. I know y'all know I give y'all a hard time, but that's only because you all can take it, right? Right? I mean, this is you all. All right. So, if God gives you the idea before it is time for you to manifest the idea. It's so that you can become comfortable with the idea, so that when you get to the season of manifestation, you will have become comfortable and familiar with what is, even though when you got it, it was not. Watch this, watch this. Joseph, remember Joseph? Joseph the dreamer, or Joseph the imaginer, he saw it before he ever walked in it. He saw it, he experienced it, he saw it, he imaged it, he could see it in his mind and in his soul before he ever had to walk in it. Now watch this. There was a whole journey from the time he got the vision until the time he was ready to walk in the season in which he got the vision. But that does not mean that what he saw in his soul, what the image was that God gave him, doesn't mean that it wasn't true just because it wasn't showing up yet. See, some of you have given up on life because what you desire has not manifested itself yet. But I'm here to let you know that if you have the image, you have to work the image until the manifestation shows up. You cannot put a time frame on God because your consciousness has not caught up yet. God is as instant as your consciousness is. But if my consciousness colors and conditions the idea, then it will show up in relation to my consciousness and not necessarily how God intended it to be. So we cannot afford to not have our imagination resonate with the mind of God. That's why the scripture says, let this mind be in you that was also in. You need that mind to be in you. You need to have it guiding you. You need to have it directing you. You need that to let you know what you ought to go and what you ought to be doing before you date anybody. Yeah, I'm going to talk to you real if I can. Before you have a single date, you ought to check in. Because they might show up with one imagination that's running away. You might need to be plugged into a whole nother one. They might show up with one game plan. You might need to get so far away from them that you're as far away as east and west. I don't know who that's for, but you take it. You ought to listen to that. Get this tape, listen to it over and over and over again. You will save yourself some heartache. If you let the right image resonate in your soul, underdeveloped imagination. When we're talking about underdeveloped imagination, we have to remember that we are psychosomatic beings. What does that mean? That means that there is a relationship between what's happening in our minds and what will happen in our bodies. Some of this stuff, I just got to let go. Reverend Coleman said it this way: you upset and you mad, and they at the picture show. You steaming, red hot, upset about what they did, and they might have been dead wrong, but you're being mad. You can never get mad enough to change how they feel. You can only get upset enough to upset your body. See, they don't feel what you feel when your heart is broken. They don't feel what you feel when your mind is confused. They don't feel what you feel when you feel upset and out of place and out of sorts. They don't feel that. That's why they're smiling while you crying. Just my imagination. You still with me? When imagination is overdeveloped, so imagination can be underdeveloped, but it can also be overdeveloped. When imagination is overdeveloped, we spend too much time daydreaming and not enough time working. You have to be careful about the dream. You have to be mindful about the dream, because the dream, it can consume you. The vision can consume you. The imagination can consume you. And if you're not careful, it can consume you so that you feel like you've done something when all you've done is got a good idea. If you spend enough time with the idea, you can see yourself expressing it and not have it in the manifest world. So every time you pray, say every time I pray, I have to move my feet. See, it's not enough to pray that you forgive someone. Let's make it real practical. This is practical Christianity. It's not enough to pray that you've forgiven someone or that you'll be able to forgive someone, and then when you see them, you still feel what you felt when you saw them the last time. See, when we're talking about forgiveness, we're talking about doing something. We're not just talking about flowery words. Yeah, I forgive you. I let it go. I'm too big for that. You still with me? All right. When imagination is overdeveloped, we find ourselves not working in the soil in order to till the land, to bring forth the fruit that is in the demonstration. But you have to work. Again, I hear my founder, she's with me this morning. She says it works if you work it. See, you have to work it. It's not enough to know it. See, the slogan is, it's not, it works if you know it. Right? It's not, it works if you've read it. Right? It's not, it works if you've had that class. Right? It's not, it works if you come to church. Right? It's not, it works if you think about it. It works if you work it. And so we cannot get around the work that must come out of the consciousness, because the work says that I understand that it's manifested, but I also understand that in order to bring it from the invisible to the visible, it's got to pass through some physical element. So you've got to put not only your mind to it, not only your imagination to it, but you got to put your feet to it. Don't just pray for stuff to get better and then you don't change. Don't pray for a job and then you don't call anybody. Don't pray for a raise and your work is not improving. Don't pray for a better relationship and you can't stand yourself. Oh, don't pray for better kids and you ain't doing no better as a parent. See, it's just my imagination that's running away with me. So how does imagination show up when it is working through the power of the direction of Christ? When we apply the power of imagination, we are able to see ourselves as God created us. When you rightly apply the power of imagination, you can see yourself as God sees you. Now watch this. You do recognize that God does not see you as you see yourself. God sees you as you were created. Now you were made perfect, whole, and complete. So any sense of lack that you have is not God's, but it's yours. But watch this. But God does not see you in your limitation. God sees you in your expansion. So you can use your imagination to see yourself as God sees you. How do you do that, Rev? I'm glad you asked. When you look in the mirror, you have to be willing to look beyond your flaws. When you look in the mirror, you have to be willing to look beyond your flab. Y'all don't like that, I know. When you look in the mirror, you have to be willing to look beyond your fluff so that you can see what is true about you. Now, here is the great thing about seeing what's true about you. When you see what's true about you, you can see what's true about me. When you understand that you are made in the image and likeness of God, you can't let yourself off the hook and say that you are, but I am not. When you understand whose you are, when you use your imagination to see things right, things begin to set themselves right. So all you gotta do is start to see it the way it really is. Stop telling yourself stories about why stuff is showing up sideways. It's showing up sideways because you sideways. Don't let yourself off the hook because there's too much in you. There's too much greatness in you. There's too much freshness in you. There's too much power in you. There's too much for you to do to not walk in the magnificence of who you are and what you were created to be. No, we don't let ourselves off the hook. We're practical Christians, and so we practice the truth about ourselves and we practice the truth about God. Through the power of your imagination, you can see yourself as God created you. How do you do it? How do you apply it rightly? How do you apply it rightly? As I said earlier, through the power of imagination, you let your imagination be the gateway through which you become comfortable with God's goals for you. Every goal that you have is not your own. Truth be told, you don't know enough about yourself to have all the goals you need to have. God's got some stuff for you that comes through your soul consciousness. Nobody can give it to you. Nobody can take it away from you. But you have to be willing to use your imagination to even walk through the gateway. Does that make sense? How do we use rightly the power of our imagination? We refuse to ascribe to ourselves the images that others have for us. How many of you know that folk can really only see you at the level that makes them the most comfortable? Folk cannot see you as you are unless they see themselves as they are. And so we have to reconcile ourselves to make sense of what is and what is not. So in using the power of your imagination, don't ever press yourself back down into somebody else's limited understanding of who you are and whose you are. Don't use your imagination to see yourself as what they say about you. They don't know. You've got to be willing to trust God when God says of you that I made you in my image and after my likeness. You've got to be willing to trust God when it says God continues to do exceedingly and abundantly above all that you can ask or think according to the power that's working where? That's right. I mentioned Walt Disney earlier. Do you realize that he was fired by the Kansas City Star newspaper because they said he lacked creativity? They don't know. George Lucas, who was the creator of Star Wars, he was rejected on a number of occasions. They just said what he wanted to present to the world, it just didn't really work. Nobody would buy it. And then he pressed on with the image that he had. And billions of dollars later, we have Star Wars. They don't know. We have our wonderful sister, Miss Oprah Winfrey, who was too funny looking and who wasn't smart enough and who was too rotund, robust, okay, in order to be accepted in an industry where you had to look a certain way. But not only did she reject and push through what they were saying, but she saw the image for herself. And in seeing the image for herself, she not only blew up the airwaves, you all know about Oprah Winfrey, but when she got tired of messing around, she went and established her own thing, and she's doing her own network now because she saw it in her mind. And in seeing it in her mind, it was only a matter of time before it became manifested in the world. They said she couldn't do it, but they don't know. And then my last guy before I get out of here was Jabez. Jabez had a really wonderful imagination, but here is what I appreciate about Jabez's imagination. Jabez didn't think that it was necessary or appropriate for him to try to accomplish everything that he needed to accomplish on his own. And so Jabez got real wise. He used his imagination and he said to the Lord in prayer, "Bless me. And Lord, as I'm asking you to bless me, I want you to enlarge my territory. But now your territory can't be enlarged if you can't see past the block you live on. Your territory can't expand if you don't think that you can sail outside of your area. Your territory can't be increased if you don't recognize that the healing presence and power of God that is within you is everything that you need to break the healing forth. You gotta know for yourself that if God said it, it is so, and that's final. What I like about Jabez is he just said, "Bless me, enlarge my territory," and then he didn't leave it right there. He said, "Keep your hand on me." See, because sometimes when you get too big, folk get mad. Sometimes when your territory get large, you find out who like you and who don't like you. Sometimes when your territory starts to expand, you see the green come out of folk who are black. So you want to make sure that in using your imagination, you see and ask that God will keep his hand on you. When Jabez was praying his prayer, he also asked, "And that you might be with me." And he said that you will keep me from all harm. So here is what I want to challenge you to do, Christ Universal Temple. I want to challenge you to use your imagination to see your territory being enlarged. I want to challenge you to use your imagination to see the hand of God blessing your situation, your life, your conditions, your world, your affairs. I want to challenge you to make sure that you check in with God so that God won't have to check up on you. I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to just make sure that you invite him to keep his hand on you. As you see, through the power of your imagination, God guiding you along the way. If you will use your imagination, you'll find that it was just your imagination that was running away with you. It was just your imagination running away from you. See? I like he's watching. Every night, on my knees, I pray. Dear Lord, hear my plea. Don't ever let another take a love from me, because I will surely die. But her love is heavenly. When your arms enfold me, I feel a tender rhapsody. But in reality, you can't help but notice me. I love you. God bless you.